like the showdown this morning more than the actual slate. The showdown's fun. Michigan, Ohio State, you're doing a ton of guessing.
Oh man, this is gonna get. Woo!
We can breeze through some of the easy stuff. Yeah, because it's a lot of games.
All right, I said it yesterday, same time, same place. Same time and same place. Stokastic, CFB Live Before Lock, presented by No House Advantage. We have 14 games on, I don't even know, what is this? It's rivalry week, I guess. Championship Saturday. No one knows what the names are, but we got a ton to break down. We're here to do it. I'm Ben Rasa. That is Matt Gajewski. Here it is. Is this it? It's been a hell of a season. We still got plenty of games left in the bowl world and championship week, but the final Saturday of the regular season. How do you feel?
Feeling good, man. Excited for the games today. We're treated to the official Big Ten championship kicking off right away after this show. Excited for that. News is pouring in already. Spencer Sanders not warming up.
Oh,
that's big. And this is probably going to be a theme, not just today, but through the rest of bowl season. There's going to be the last ride for some guys, people opting out for bowls, people opting out for the NFL, people not playing because they're entering the portal. It's going to be the Wild West. And that creates a pretty big edge if you're paying attention throughout the day.
yeah, I'm not even paying attention right now. Does that mean I should be betting West Virginia?
Probably, yeah. I think I'm going to.
I'll do that during the show. That never hurt anyone. Well, this is what we're going to be dealing with. We got crazy games. We got crazy news. We got a crazy chat. I see all the regulars in there. Friends, it's been a hell of a year. You want to support us? Pump up those likes right off the bat, but let's get into it. 35-point spread. Why not? Georgia Tech and Georgia. Georgia is in the playoff. They're going to make it. They are a 35.5-point favorite today in the rivalry game. Credit to Georgia Tech, who's playing better towards the end of the season. It's just pretty simple. Does it matter when you play a team like Georgia?
No, their implied team total is like 6. Literally.
That makes it tougher, yeah.
Yeah, so anytime you see a 6 implied total or whatever it is very, very low. X the team out.
Did you think it was too many points on a side note?
It's so tough to handicap these games because, like Georgia can name their spread. They can win by whatever margin of victory they want. Do they try to get out early? And I think they probably do that. I mean, you're 1 week away from the SEC championship and you're playing an inept team. So I think and we've seen this a lot with Georgia where they'll use like Brock Bowers and 50% of the routes, Ladd 50%. They already run a rotation at running back, but I think it's probably something like that because we've seen it many times.
So getting into that side, which is obviously the only useful side of this game, we know they've got bigger things. They've got LSU on deck. Do you expect guys to be geared down? Do you think there's enough that they can get it done in 2 or 3 quarters? And I'm talking about certainly Stetson Bennett and all his weapons because they're going to score. But on 14 games, is that just not enough volume?
I think it's GPP viable just because they're still going to score points and they're going to play the game, but they're probably going to take it easy. If you don't think they take it easy, you have the chance for just pure efficiency here, which is what you'll be banking on if you're playing one of these guys. Stetson's expensive at 8,700, but you like that he runs. Offense will push the ball downfield. You stack with either Ladd or Bowers, neither of whom are particularly expensive, but it's just like any blowout situation we've talked about earlier this year. You hope you get there on the efficiency as they run it up, and you hope you get there before the guys exit the game. So you're just pure GPP options.
Anything, you mentioned obviously tournament centric. Anything else from a game again? This is more atypical of a week 1 matchup than a week 13 where you're seeing a 5 touchdown spread is just different than 99% of the games that we've got on this slate.
Absolutely. You laid it out well. I don't honestly have anything to add. Just be careful with your GPPs, a piece here and there, not a game I'm trying to stack.
South Carolina and Clemson, of course, another big-time rivalry, but one that is getting more realistic. And I think in a couple of years, this could have serious implications because I like what South Carolina is doing. Now, they're coming off, I don't know what that was. They hung 63 on Tennessee. It was out of control. Rattler went berserk, 438 and 6 touchdowns. He had 16 yards rushing, which you might as well be the 100-yard bonus for a guy like that because he doesn't really move. Now he's going into Death Valley. Clemson hasn't been beaten home in eons. South Carolina, how do they stack up amongst the rest of the slate?
I think they're decent because of volume. At the end of the day, they still try to be fairly pass heavy and up tempo. I like their OC. He's still trying to put some pieces in place. So like you mentioned, maybe not quite there yet to consistently compete, but this is a team that is live if they can find some efficiency. Tougher matchup here. The issue with Rattler himself is he doesn't run, which you brought up. Should have given him the 100-yard bonus. Yeah. 17 yards on the ground. He is 24 on the year. So it just speaks to the lack of mobility. You do have injuries to worry about here. Christian Beal-Smith, Marshawn Lloyd, their coaching staff said he expects to get at least one of them back, which probably changes the usage a little bit for tight end gadget guy Jaheim Bell. Last year, just a pure tight end. This year, he's had to handle running back work because of injuries. 18 carries last week, just a phenomenal overall player. His price is now up, and I'm a little worried that the role may change with either Lloyd or Beal-Smith back. But honestly, that might not be the worst thing. Could just put him back into regular pass sets, more targets for him then. All that to say, I think he's still the guy you probably want to get to from this offense if you play someone. Second would be Antwain Wells. He has a 24% target share, averages 71 yards per game, saw 14 targets last week. Just limiting it to those two if I'm getting any. And it's not a ton because total here is still not great. It's kind of middling.
Yeah, and of course, in terms of the team totals, majority of the points in this game are coming from the Clemson side. So just to be clear, you're not really getting to Rattler.
I don't have any Rattler.
Okay, so there you go. On the other side, Clemson still alive for everything that they're hoping to do. They probably need some serious help, but they got to win this game. There's no doubt. Uagalele's held on to the job at times, and he does still get his first crack under center. You've got Shipley. You've got some guys. Williams has kind of emerged. Where does Clemson's offense rank amongst the teams today?
They're pretty good. Total here is awesome in the 30s. Matchup doesn't scare you. And for Uagalele, all his struggles through the air, they've used him more as a rusher. And that makes sense. It kind of unlocks the skill set, gives him confidence. And he has 25 designed attempts over the last 2 weeks. Gives him an excellent floor too. I always question the ceiling with him because he's not going to pass for 400 yards and get you bonuses, but he can run some touchdowns in on the ground, certainly, which provides a good floor ceiling combo. So I think he's completely fine. Shipley, unfortunately, is just never going to receive the Ibrahim workload that people want him to. He's always going to split with Maffa in pace, but this offense has elevated efficiency in matchups like this. So you're kind of gambling on a guy who's in a bit of a timeshare, but we know he's talented. We know he can catch. You just hope the touchdowns follow. Receiving game's really hard to get to. Their best player, Antonio Williams, is no longer 3K. Loved playing him when he was down there, but he's now 5.5. He's still only averaging 46.5 yards per game and 5 targets on the year. Nobody else has more than 35 yards per game. It's a complete disaster. And they're returning Bo Collins, who muddies it even more.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Collins sporting the Q tag, but I don't even know if that really matters, like you just alluded to. It's just another reason why you probably aren't going to have interest in these pass catchers regardless.
That's my stance, 100%.
Anything on the betting side? I thought the spread was about right.
I took South Carolina in the points.
Woo. They're going to win outright, break the streak, 40 in a row.
That would be amazing because I'm not a Clemson fan. I do not like Dabo, but I don't think it happens.
Neither do I. All right. This is a game you just mentioned. We got some news and we'll get there in a second, but let's start on the West Virginia side. Them and Oklahoma State lock up here. West Virginia is north of a touchdown underdog. That could be dropping if Sanders does in fact sit. Healthy total. West Virginia, and we say a lot of crazy things, mostly on the Odd Shopper channel. You can check out Betting You over there. One thing that we say often, but we're not joking, West Virginia's secondary is possibly the worst I've ever seen, and that still holds true. But offensively, they are able to do some things. How do you think they break down offensively with their quarterback situation, with Green certainly emerging, and what else should we talk about for them on the road here?
Green's really mobile, and he's cheap today. I think he's a pretty good pivot off your Spencer Sanders news, which we'll get to, but ran for 100 yards in their second most recent game. Kind of got eaten up by some sacks last week, but that shouldn't be a huge issue this week. Easier matchup for him, and the mobility is just so good. The way they play offense changes a little bit with him under center, though. You already looked at a running back rotation, and now Green siphons even more carries away, so it's not a spot where I really want to target a back. And then the passing volume's down. It's not the JT Daniels pocket passing offense anymore. Their pass rate's going to continue to fall with Green under center, which gives risk to guys like Prather and Sam James and Bryce Ford Wheaton. So I don't hate playing those guys. I think you can stack him, but ultimately I think running him naked is the way I'm going to do this.
Do you have any inkling if, now that you're super interested, do you have any inkling if Prather even plays?
Allegedly, he's going to play. The rumor
Okay.
on the street is that he's going to be back today.
Yeah, I mean, that was a somewhat surprising scratch against Kansas State. They don't give you any information. But no doubt Green changes the dynamics of the offense. I agree. I would run him naked. Now we can get to the other side. So West Virginia's secondary allows 9 yards per pass attempt. That's 127th in the country. They're down there with Florida, or Charlotte, I should say, in South Florida, 2 of the worst. But Oklahoma State, I'm not even going to get into Bedlam last week. That was one of the strangest games I've ever seen. Who is going to play quarterback today? And if it's not Sanders, if he doesn't play, is anybody playable even against this garbage secondary?
So it looks like Garrett Rangel's taking reps to the first team. I think there's a chance that Stephon Johnson is viable at 3.5K. I don't think anyone's going to play him because he's coming off an injury, but this team has had a lot of injuries. Jaden Bray's out for the year now. We're not going to see him at all. They just ruled somebody else out. Forget the name. Bryson Green, I believe, is not going to play in this game either. So they're kind of thin at receiver right now. And when this is a rotation, I try to stay away. But when we can get some consolidated targets, I kind of have some interest in it because the secondary on the other side is so weak and suspect. So even Garrett Rangel might be able to take advantage of this matchup. And at that price, I think a lot of people are going to play Schoonmaker and whatnot. So Stephon Johnson, I think, is somewhat interesting.
Yeah, you mentioned that personnel right now for this team is in flux in a lot of different areas. Let me just ask you this, because we never know. If you get word that Sanders is going to play, do you have interest in him?
Yeah, I had a ton of interest. He was in a bunch of my lineups, and I just took him out. So I hope that doesn't happen because those lineups are gone now.
That'll be a mad scramble if it in fact does. Anything in the backfield for Oklahoma State?
It's tough because Dominic Richardson was listed questionable. I haven't seen his status updated yet. If he's out, I have no interest. If he's in, maybe in a contrarian piece, but I probably don't think I'll get to him anyway.
Favorite plays from this game?
Stephon Johnson and Garrett Green.
There you go. And I do think West Virginia took money. It crossed 7 already. I still think you probably hit West Virginia money line if you get like plus 200 or better, just because I think they're very live to just win this game. Oklahoma State's got nothing
I think the
left.
6 is fine. I'm seeing 6.
Yeah.
We've talked about this. This might be top 3 biggest drop-offs, starter to backup in the country.
You're not lying. They have no one behind Spencer Sanders. We've seen it all year. All right. One of the ways, because the injury news is coming in fast and furious, that you can take advantage of this is over on No House Advantage, the sponsor of this show. And we've talked about it. You get up to $50 first match deposit bonus when you use the promo code Stokastic and you head over there. Got it right in the description of this video. We're dropping it in chat. No House Advantage, what you're doing, you're either playing against the house, over-unders, or you can string player props together in contests. It's super easy. We have a lineup generator. We've got all the tools, all the projections, everything works for it. And it's super simple. So you've got guys from these big games. We've already talked about a guy like Will Shipley, over under 93.5 rushing yards. We've got Van on South Carolina. You've got all these dudes, Bo Nix, all those guys. I think there's a lot of good value over there. Those props don't move. Really, really simple format, easy to play, and it's soft competition. The overlay is immense. We've seen it time and time again in the NFL. So if you're looking for a new site, if you're looking for a way to build the bankroll, or you're just looking for ways to get different exposure, this is an easy add to your weekly routine. And again, you're getting $50 to go right over there with that first match deposit bonus. So shout out to No House Advantage. We'll be talking about them throughout the show. Here we go. The game, Michigan and Ohio State. Does it go over the total today? 55.5. I would say no. If I bet it, I would lean under. Ohio State's 7.5 point favorite. It's in Columbus. They haven't played in Columbus in like half a decade because of COVID, and Michigan didn't want to play that one year, but they are in fact there in a huge game. Let's start with Michigan. Undefeated, obviously. Almost lost last week. Corum got hurt. looks like he's going to give it a go. Edwards looks like he's going to give it a go. Let's start in the backfield. How do you break down the unknown here with multiple backs returning and trying to play through it?
I do not think Corum is fully healthy.
Neither do
which
I.
is a big problem for this offense. And at the end of the day, we just don't know how the carries are going to be divided up. Media already said he's going to be limited, so I would not project him for the 30 carries. I think on the back end, we have him for like half his workload. He's projected around 15, which I'm not certain about. I think that's a little rich, but essentially was project him in a spot where you don't want to play him in DFS because it's extremely risky. And you know there's no upside here. He's not going to play the full game, assuming we believe these beat reporters, which I do. They're the big national writers. So how much does Edwards get? He's coming off an injury too. Does he get 15 carries or is he also limited? There's a chance this is just a four-way committee with Gash and Stokes also involved, which is where I think it lands and why I'm going to stay away entirely.
If Michigan falls behind, if Michigan can't run the ball at all, it's JJ McCarthy, who I called for, like many people, I thought that they should have made this move and they did. It's his time to shine. He's going to have to do something. Now he's limited the turnovers somehow because every time I see him, it looks like he's throwing picks, but he only has 2 on the year. Is he possibly playable, or is, again, with so many quarterbacks on the slate, it's just not a spot we want to go to?
I personally don't want to go there. They don't like using it. He's a game manager, and he's struggled when he's been negative game script now. Very small sample because they killed a bunch of really easy non-con teams, but this is the showdown. I'm playing him there, but don't have a lot of interest in the main.
Ronnie Bell, Wilson, any of these dudes on the outside, or is Michigan a pure pass?
This is where I think you might look to them. The total in the game is not phenomenal. It's middling, but
Yes.
We know Ohio State's explosive, and you could easily see this play above the total just based on like Ohio State having dudes, NFL dudes at these positions. And if they're going to continue passing and running up the score, you need something from the Michigan side. So I don't hate using like a Ronnie Bell or Cornelius Johnson or Luke Schoonmaker, who's very cheap, as a run back, and then hope the game exceeds the total. And then you're accessing the ceiling that Stroud and Harrison and Ibuka provide.
Speaking of those guys, certainly Smith and Jigma not walking through that door, but Stroud's got plenty of weapons. Where does the Ohio State stack land today? And is it dependent on Michigan being able to do stuff?
Yeah, it's pretty low. Just 32 total here. So implied team total, that is. So it's not ideal. Stroud doesn't run. So him specifically at 9,200, like he projects straight up worse than Todd Centeio, who's like 4K cheaper than him. Like straight up, not price adjusted, just projects for fewer points. But we know the ceiling's there with Stroud. So I think he's still in your tournament pool. I'm going to stack him and then use one of Harrison, Ibuka. They're hard to play both because they're so expensive. And then maybe Julian Fleming is the wide receiver 3, Stover's the tight end, and occasionally using a Michigan run back. That's kind of how I'm treating the game. It's playing a piece here or there, or when I am stacking it, trying to use a Michigan player as a run back.
Yeah, it's as great of game as it is. I don't think it's the best DFS game by any stretch, especially because of the Michigan. Keep an eye out, but I'm with you. I think Michigan's backs are going to be limited. And I think Ohio State probably wins. Other cash QB besides Centeio with Sanders questionable. What do you think? We're back to 2 quarterbacks today, right?
Yes. And the 3 running backs did pretty well yesterday, but it's probably some combination of like a Garrett Green, a DJ Uiagalelei, one of the guys who's mobile in like the 6'5" to 7'5" range.
Yeah, there's a lot of playable guys there. You mentioned Green as well. Oh, your game. Coastal Carolina and James Madison. James Madison, just impressive all year. 14-point favorite, 53-point total. Coastal, they do their thing. But, of course, we got to talk about Grayson McCall. What's left for this Chanticleer's offense, and how do you attack this?
They use quarterback platoons now. So Guest is the guy they use as more of a pure passer, and then they use Carpenter as their, Grayson McCall does a lot of unique things, and Carpenter can do the ground stuff a little better than Guest. So I expect a rotation here. Jared Brown is also questionable. I think he plays, but watch that. He's electric, and he's somebody I think you should be looking at, especially if you're running James Madison stuff. And James Madison's just going to be stone chalk today. So I think one way you can get contrarian is just using a Jared Brown on the other side or a Sam Pinckney. Outside of that, I don't have a ton of interest in the offense really as a whole. It's going to be a little run heavier. You really worry about efficiency. They're not playing for anything. if James Madison was eligible for the Sun Belt Championship, this game would be for it. But unfortunately, they can't go to the Sun Belt just because they're coming up from the FCS level. So Coastal's locked into the Sun Belt Championship. They're going to be resting guys trying to get healthy, hence why they're 14-point underdogs. So motivation's a question here, but I'll either play Pinckney, Brown, or pass.
What about Centillo on the other side here with JMU? How does he fall, and just how do you see them attacking?
Yeah, he's the best quarterback play in the slate. It's not even close. He's mobile. He's been efficient. Coastal's defense is bad. They win games based on the sheer willpower of Grayson McCall. So having him being gone is an issue here because their defense is horrific. They've given up a ton of production. So Centillo, who's very mobile, who's a good passer and an efficient passer, should be able to just carve up this defense.
What is the status of Reggie Brown? If he sits, is Thornton solidified as that guy? How do you play what is going to be a chalk QB? You run him naked or do you pair him up?
You can run him naked if you want because he's mobile. And then Reggie Brown is warming up. This is going to be key. Love playing him if he's actually, and I believe it was a hand injury. So it's not like you're really that worried about him missing the game if he's warming up. With that said, he should be the wide receiver 1 if he's healthy. Should slide Thornton to the wide receiver 2, but really not too much separating them. They both see a ton of work on the field. And I'm not even confident that Reggie Brown would be ahead of Thornton at this point. It's probably just like a 1A, 1B, interchanging those guys. So for those of you that are playing Thornton and see Reggie Brown warming up, wouldn't really be that worried about it. I think Thornton still gets his. Reggie Brown potentially playing hurts guys like Terrence Green and Devin Ravino a little bit more. Between those two guys, I still prefer Terrence Green. Just route rate's a little bit better than Ravino, but they rotate probably in this instance.
Last question, and it's a two-part question. One, just talk about the backfield, and can you play the JMU QB and running back together to try to consolidate all the ground production?
Backfield, you've got Percy, Agayi, Obesi. I think I'm saying that correctly. Sorry, Percy, if you're listening. Hit the thumbs up button.
Yeah, hit the thumbs up, though. Either way, buddy.
But as you warm up, I thank you for listening, Percy. Anyway, they will use a bit of a rotation here. Latrell Palmer and Kalen Black are also involved. And you're not going to get a lot of pass catching upside with Percy. A lot of that just goes to Kalen Black, who they use as their pass catching back. But with that said, this is a good team total, bad defense on the other side. And price is right here. We talked about taking on some negative correlation yesterday, but the total was kind of bad and the price were expensive. I can't remember who it was. In this instance, it's the opposite. Good total, cheap prices. So I don't think it's as detrimental to your lineups.
Yeah, I think that you can definitely do that as well. JMU, really solid spot today. Super chat from Pierre, friend of the show. Pick 2 of these 3 cheap long shot QBs on FanDuel. We've got Garrett Green, Mike Wright, and Byram Brown for South Florida.
I get to pick 2.
Yep.
Green would be 1, Brown would be 2.
Green would be 1. Yeah, God, I guess it would be Brown. I think Vandy's going to play good tonight. That's a hot take.
I just don't know if he plays the whole game. Like
yeah.
AJ Swan practiced.
I don't know what exactly Vanderbilt's doing, but they're playing good football. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, Garrett, I'll tell you this. You're really choosing between one of 2. I think Green has to be in there.
Agreed.
So Western Kentucky and FAU, 61.5 point total. Hilltopper, 7.5 point favorite. They throw the ball all over the place. Them against Auburn was a generational wealth spot. I didn't make generational wealth, but I did make some wealth fading Western Kentucky. This is a more reasonable opponent for them. Where does Austin Reed in this passing attack rank today?
It's pretty good. Austin Reed runs. Their offense didn't change a lot, even losing Kitley. Pass a ton. Reed has some mobility, and they run 4 wide every single play. So he's a cash game consideration in this range. I kind of left his name out there, but he's right there with Green and Yoa Galilei, kind of in that 6.5 to, I guess, 7.7 is Reed's price. So we'll go there. But cash consideration, he's an excellent play.
On the outside, Corley, Davis, all sorts of guys. Do you just pair a couple of them with Reed? Do you take them as one-offs? What else for the skill position players?
You can definitely play these guys. You can play them as one-offs. If you're using Reed, I would stack him. Price is right here. Corley's the 1. He's priced like it. Dawood Davis is the 2, also priced like it. And I think the difference in their price, if you can only play one of them, I would prefer Dawood Davis because of his price-adjusted value. You can use that salary elsewhere. And then Jalen Hall's the 3. He had 17 targets last week. So if you need to go down to 5,400, he's fine. The last guy is Michael Matheson, and he is a bit more of a part-time player, but even in this role, still 6.3 targets per game over the last 4 games. You can run any of these guys. Trying to play at least one in my stacks. 2 are fine. Would probably limit it to 2 and not go beyond.
Nothing in the backfield, right?
No.
Other side, it's a good game environment. Again, Western Kentucky's throwing it all over the place. What does that leave for the Owls of Florida Atlantic? Perry at quarterback. Who do they attack with? Will they have success, and are they playable?
I don't want to play a lot of Perry, but this game does have potential shootout written all over it, especially because FAU's defense is awful, but total's above 60, which is good. And the spread's only a touchdown, so it's not like blowout risk here. This team is 24th in pace, which is awesome, but they're very run heavy. So right away, not too much interest in N'Kosi Perry. He's semi-mobile, but he's 7,200. So I'd rather just find the 500 to get to Reed or play Yoel Galilei, whoever else in that range. And then the backfield's pretty interesting. Larry McCammon has been handling a lot of work for this team recently. He's averaging 17 touches per game, 80 rushing yards, and he gives you a little bit of receiving chops, 10 yards through the air per game. He's only 4,800. Western Kentucky does allow over 4 yards per carry, so they're a decent defense, but nothing that you're really scared of. I think you can play McCammon here. I think you can also play LeJontay Wester, their wide receiver 1, averages 9 targets per game, relatively inefficient, just 60 yards, but it's a lot of volume. And I don't think a lot of people are going to play the FAU side of this game.
Yeah, I mean, FAU is a team we really don't see much during the year on these slates. You mentioned their defense is pretty rough, and it really is not looking good. Favorite plays from this game before we move to a much, much worse game.
Dawood Davis 1, Austin Reed 2, Malachi Corley 3, Jalen Hall 4.
Good game.
Good game. Good game to watch.
Good game to watch too. Yeah. So, all right, we got a 3v3 and then we'll move to the next game. OBC, Chris Rodriguez and Garrett Green, or Muhammad Ibrahim, Centillo, and Reggie Brown, assuming he plays.
Ibrahim side.
Yeah, I would agree. Is Milton a good play on FanDuel? I mean, it is Vanderbilt, but I am not a fan of Milton. I'm not gonna lie.
He's not a good quarterback, but he runs a lot. So I mean,
and he is in a great. I mean, it's not like Heupel. The system will be okay for them. That was bad.
He's really mobile. He's a good runner. I think he's fine. He's cheap I'm playing him on FanDuel because of his price.
Okay. There you go. Louisville and Kentucky. I would say normally this is a basketball rivalry, but if you've seen Louisville basketball, that's a whole different type of. I've never seen a team. They have no anything. Talk to me about a 43-point total here. It's a competitive spread, but obviously the total's indicating there are serious issues on both sides here.
Yeah, the first thing we need to talk about is Malik Cunningham is a game time decision. If he plays, or excuse me, if he doesn't play, I don't want anyone in the offense. None, not a single guy. The only player you could make an argument for is Tyler Hudson. And it's the Trey Palmer argument where it's all right, bad offense. He's got a great target share, 31.5%. Maybe we can just play the volume as a contrarian piece. If Cunningham plays, way more interest in the game. Cunningham himself is dynamic as a rusher. You would assume he's decently healthy if he plays. That would help Tyler Hudson. I think it would also put guys like Amari Huggins, Bruce, and Marshawn Ford, the ancillary guys that need efficiency. It would put them in play. Backfield's kind of rough here, though. Two-way committee, at least between Turner and Jawar Jordan. No real differentiating between them, just 50-50 right down the middle. The Kentucky side's kind of interesting, though. Louisville's defense is pretty good, but Chris Rodriguez just has so much work, and he's kind of coming out of the teeth of his schedule. With Will Levis banged up, too, I think Chris Rodriguez is a guy that could touch the ball 25 times here. 6,200, I'm not sure he's going to be owned enough.
Yeah, you just mentioned him on this other side. What else is there to say about this game? Is it really just a piece there, like Levis, not really at the top of people's lists for real reasons? How many plays in this overall game can we really get to?
Don't want Levis. He's hurt, and he's been really bad, not efficient. Like Tavion Robinson didn't have a target last week, but he had his normal route participation. So I don't want to touch that. Barry and Brown, he had 12 targets, but the week prior he had 2. So it just seems like a low volume passing attack that's really volatile right now. I'll pass on that entirely.
Yeah, didn't bet this game, not going to. I don't really have anything else to say.
Same.
Couple questions. Do you see any good running back value today in terms of the cheapies?
Good value. Ugh.
Yeah,
Damian
it's not-
Martinez. It depends how cheap you want to go. Like I think Damian Martinez is a good price adjusted play at 5,200. Micah Bernard at 5,800, but I'm not sure that constitutes cheap for some people.
Fair enough. Do we think Gibbs is a go today? I think so.
I think he plays. I don't think he's fully healthy.
Yeah, they
And
got.
he's also he's likely to never play in an Alabama uniform again. So
This is the next game up. We're going to talk about it in just a second, but all these betting spots, I keep alluding to the betting side of things. Why not? If you're in a legal state, why not take some bets? We got a whole Odd Shopper YouTube devoted for it. And we've got some serious promos, not even ours. BetMGM, you can thank them for giving you $200 when you sign up over there in the no-brainer world. So you don't even need to know what you're doing. All you got to do is follow the instructions. It's in the link in the description. It's bet 10, win 200. Simple as that. What do you have to do? You go there, you sign up, you deposit $10. You have to bet a World Cup pregame money line, but it doesn't matter what happens in the game. It's simply making that selection and following the instructions. When you do that, $200 in free bets. What would I do if I did that? Well, I'd bet a random soccer game. Once I got my $200, then I would bet college basketball or college football. Those are my sports. You might want to bet the NFL. Totally fine. You might want to put it all on a parlay. More power to you. Worst thing that happens, you lose your free bets and you're back to where you started. But a really great offer courtesy of BetMGM. 22-point spread in the Iron Bowl here. Auburn and Cadillac Williams hitting the road, take on Bama. Let's get Auburn out of the way. They can only run, and I don't know if you can really run against Alabama. So what does that mean here?
yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to run here. They're a one-dimensional offense that should be easy to shut down. Normally, I have some interest in Robbie Ashford, but just the matchup here downgrades him so much. Their implied team total is 14. Unfortunately, their two best players are both running backs, and they don't play on the field together. So Tank Bigsby, Jarquez Hunter just cannibalize each other. This is the showdown, though, so I'm probably going to play Tank on the showdown just because of the price. The receiving game is a complete mess. Nobody has a consistent route share. Nobody saw more than 4 targets last week. If I were ranking them, it's probably Coy Moore 1 at this point, just based on routes. Shedrick Jackson 2, Travarius Johnson 3, John Samuel Shanker 4, but don't feel good about it. That's just for those of you playing showdown.
On the other side, you mentioned this could be it for Gibbs. Bryce Young, they've got all the guys they need. I mean, Alabama's not making the playoff. I don't even know what would have to happen. Something crazy would have to happen. Who do you think is in the best matchup here? The wide receivers have been a pain point all year. Bama a good team today, or even with 22-point favorites not standing out?
Their team total suggests we need to look at them, but last game for Bryce Young in a Bama uniform, he's been playing injured all year. How much do we really see of him? He's 9,300. He doesn't run. His receivers are awful. They're going to fire their OC. Luckily, they're playing Auburn because this is a bad situation for Bama at the end of the year. I'm not playing any Bryce Young. I might play a piece of Cameron Latou here and there, but he's hurt. So I'm not sure he even plays today. You're going to have to watch his status pregame. Otherwise, JoJo Earl is seeing more routes. Ja'Cory Brooks sees routes when games are competitive, but I have no idea what Bama's going to do today. And Gibbs, if he plays, I don't think it's for much the whole game. Behind him, they used a 3-way committee last week. Again, it was a very weak non-con opponent, but when we've had Gibbs banged up, they've used both Jason McClellan and Roydell Williams. GPP plays, nothing more.
This is not related to this slate, but just out of curiosity, are you saying you don't think these guys play in their bowl game?
Yeah, I would bet my life savings on it.
Okay.
That's not a diss at you, Ben. It's just if anyone asked that,
it was
I don't
a direct shot at.
It was not a direct shot.
And the Austin P sweatshirt. Yeah, I tend to agree for sure. Don't worry, we're gonna be talking plenty of bowl. You'll be seeing our bowl predictions for the Cheez-It Bowl and everything in between. Absolutely. Anything else on this game?
No.
Okay. Civil War. Hey, Blaine's in chat. I know he's excited. He's an Oregon State guy. This is a real good game in life. Competitive in Corvallis. Oregon State is deadly at home. Slight favorite for the Ducks. First question, and I know you're not a doctor. You always say, I'm not a doctor. How limited is Bo Nix do you think on the ground again? He gutted it out against Utah, but he had -3 yards rushing. That's a stark change in what we had seen before the injury.
Yeah, the question is, how healthy could he get in another week?
Yep.
He's going to play. This team still is like everything's in front of them. Pac-12 is kind of noisy right now, but we'll just put it this way. They can still make the championship. So they're playing. They're going to try to win. I don't think Bo Nix is going to be able to fully open up the playbook like when he's fully healthy and mobile. So at his price, it's kind of like you're losing one of the very key factors that got him to this price point. I'm going to play a little bit of him, but very, very limited.
If you are playing him and you're kind of acknowledging that maybe some of the mobility is hampered, does that give you stronger correlation with Franklin and some of these guys on the outside, knowing that to pay off that tag, he's got to throw for a ton?
Yes, I have 4 lineups with him. He's stacked in every one. I'm comfortable with any of, well, I guess just the big 2. I would like to play Franklin if you can get there salary wise, or play Chris Hudson for a cheaper guy.
What about like Coda?
Coda, I'm not sure if he's fully healthy. So he's a guy I did not play, but it's just a personal choice.
Anything in this backfield, Bucky, sub 6, how do you think he falls? It's pretty deep class here of backs. Is he in the pool today?
He's in the pool. He's a GPP play, timeshare, but he's on the better end of the timeshare, like a 60-40, and he's a good pass catcher. And there also could just be more volume if Bo Nix is still limited. He's not going to handle carries, should give slightly more to the back. So GPP play.
Not with Nix though, right?
Not with Nix.
On the other side of this, Oregon State, been a weird year again. Just a good team. Goldbrinson, who I didn't even know who he was. He seems like he's pretty good. Can't really move. Not a dual threat per se. You mentioned Martinez. What is there to talk about for this team in a big time matchup here?
They're a run heavy, slow team. So Goldbranson is a game manager. Not a guy I want to play today. He does have a little bit of rushing chops, but it's limited. It's more just, all right, I'm not really worried about him taking a ton of sacks. The player I think is most interesting is Damian Martinez, still underpriced. The guy has a ridiculous opportunity share, 24 touches, 21 touches, 25 touches, and 24 touches in the last 4 games. He is a slight underdog here, but this Oregon State team is very strong up front in the trenches. They're going to have some success running. Maybe not quite the same efficiency we've seen against the weaker teams, but at his price, he doesn't even need it. So he's an awesome play today.
Final question here. Does Martinez come possibly as that run back in Bo Nix stacks?
Yeah, I think that's completely fine.
Okay, I would agree. Yeah, looking at these guys, even over on No House Advantage, pretty reasonable numbers. This should be an interesting game. They're so strong at home. I kind of think that Oregon State wins the game, but that's another story for another time. 5 games left. We're doing good. Purdue and Indiana, 10.5 point road favorites for Purdue. I don't have this in front of me, but I believe, because Iowa disgraced themselves even more than they normally do, Purdue controls. Does Purdue control? That's a real question. I actually
yeah, they do. They win their in.
Okay, they win their in. They get. That's just sad. Not even for just as a society that we've allowed this to happen. But we know what Purdue is going to do. They're going to throw it to Charlie Jones. He's quite good. Is that really all we need to worry about here for the Purdue side? Where does Charlie Jones rank, and who else for the Boilermakers do we want to get to in a good spot against Indiana?
Yeah, Charlie Jones, the priority if you're playing this game. It is a good spot against Indiana. They suck. And this guy, I mean, he's on the Bolitnikov list. I think he'll probably finish like 3rd or 4th. Tells you how talented he is, and volume is amazing here. He averages 12 targets per game, just shy of 100 yards. Efficiency should be there. Love Charlie Jones. You can play him as a one-off. I'm interested in buying O'Connell low. We've been fading O'Connell the last couple weeks. They played in the hurricane or whatever, the tornado, the wind game, whatever it was. And then they played a couple of the tough opponents on their schedule. When they play cupcakes, they throw the ball so much that O'Connell backdoors his way to 300 yards all the time. Prior to those games, he was averaging more than 300 yards passing per game. And he's actually not taking as many sacks. It's funny to say this. He only has -39 rush yards. Last year, it was like -100.
Yeah, he's moving up in the world.
Yeah, it's not terrible. The sacks aren't as plentiful this year for O'Connell.
What is the status of Devin Maccabee? Do you care about the status? Where would he fall if he plays? It was a concussion, so if he plays, he should be good to go.
Yeah, you'll know it when they warm up. But if he plays, he should have the lion's share of the work. If he doesn't, it'll be Dylan Downing at 3,700, and he would be a rock solid pivot. 18 carries last week.
Cash viable if Maccabee clears the backfield for him?
Kobe Lewis still will play a bit, so he's right on the outside.
On the other side, Indiana somehow is on the slate every week, and we say Cam Camper's name more than any of their real players because he was the only redeeming quality on this team. Is there anything to talk about for the Hoosiers? I mean, Purdue can be exploited. Indiana's really struggled with the loss of Camper.
Yeah, they're terrible. They changed quarterbacks. He's mobile, but it really changed their offense. They threw like 15 times last week, so you can't play any of the receivers. Before, we could play the receivers as at least Cam Camper gets 15 targets. Like he's going to backdoor his way to 20 points on PPR volume. That's not happening anymore. So it's a spot to avoid.
Williams naked?
You're going to get some of him in optimals. I X'd him out though.
Okay.
That was a personal choice. The projections suggest that you could play him.
I mean, I'll say this. If you do play him, I think it's pretty clear you just have to play him naked.
I think so too.
I don't see any way that there's an attachment. So take that for you will. Yeah, then this next, James, you are quite right. The next total of 36.5, one of the lower totals I've seen in a while. Yeah, this is in the Iowa category. This is what we deal with. Minnesota and Wisconsin. This is the other side of the Big Ten. It's terrible. It's a 3-point spread, a sub 40 total. Obviously, I can speak for you that you're not going to play anyone in the Minnesota passing game, whoever plays quarterback. Is it just Ibrahim that we need to talk about here?
Yes, and he's awesome. Play Ibrahim.
Cash?
Yes. First guy in, other than maybe Centeo.
39 carries in the last game. Healthy workload.
Hey, we're losing too.
39 for 263. That'll play.
When they're losing, like they don't even need to be in positive game script.
Guy's a machine. That really is all you need to talk about on their side. Let's go to your side for your team. We've got Braylon Allen sporting a Q tag. What's his status? You're not going to play Mertz, I would assume. What else is there to talk about?
Braylon got banged up in their last game, tried to come back in, left again. No idea if he plays. I don't really care anymore. Wisconsin's so dumb that they're not even giving him the workload, even when he's healthy. If he misses, you could probably play Ches Malusi, but I don't even trust that they'll give him the workload. When Ches was out, they were giving carries to Isaac Guerrero. And I mean, to some degree, you're going to have to give other guys carries because Wisconsin's so dumb and they run the ball so much. That's not like Braylon. I mean, you ask Minnesota, they might say Braylon can get 40 carries, but Wisconsin doesn't believe their backs can do that. So last week, Braylon had 18 rushes, Ches had 21, Guerrero at 29. If one of these guys misses, I mean, you're looking at a ton of volume for somebody. So watch this closely. Got a lot of late swap appeal on this slate.
I'd honestly think you can bet the under here. I really do. Like,
I agree with you.
Like, I honestly think this is just going to be like 17-10. It's so bad. Yeah, I honestly think the under has some value on it. We did have a 1v1, Ibrahim or Will Shipley?
Ibrahim.
Yeah,
Not
I
even
would agree.
close.
And I'm a Shipley fan too, but this is just different. There's no game script where he doesn't touch the ball like 35 times. It's insane.
It is. It's insane.
Like, whatever. It works for them. More power to them. All right. We've got 3 games left. I will say, if you didn't join us yesterday, that's okay. I know people were doing things. It was the day after Thanksgiving, all sorts of stuff going on. But I do want to let you know that we have a Black Friday deal here at Stokastic. We're giving back because we do have the best community. I love this show and I love everyone in chat. Just a fun time when we do these shows. And we're giving away all the tools, everything we've got. Stokastic Plus Platinum Weekly for 1 week. For just a couple dollars, for $5, 90% off with the promo code thanks. My man Mike behind the glass just threw it on the screen. You see everything there. DFS, the ownership projections, the regular projections, the boom bust tool, our new lineup generator, which is awesome, by the way. You should go check that out. And all the tools on the site for all the sports, not just college football. So if you look to get in, if you thought, I want to try you guys out, never wanted to splurge and pay the $40, come in for $5 with the promo code thanks. See what you got for a week. Maybe you stay, maybe you don't. Either way, we'd love to have you as part of the community, even if it's only for the week. It expires November 28th. Just a really cool deal to say thanks to you guys because you support us all the time on these shows. Question, speaking of support, Anthony Davis, one of the best. He's got the badge. Thoughts on this game isn't on the slate, but I'm just going to throw this anyway. RJ Harvey or Bowser? That's the battle for the road. I don't even know. Something. They don't even deserve numbers after
I-94, I think.
I don't
know.
I can't even get to the deli. I'm terrible with directions. Terrible. Yeah, 94. Why not? RJ Harvey versus Bowser on FanDuel.
I prefer RJ Harvey. He's a little cheaper. The price is good on.
You're not a fan of
RJ
Bowser
Harvey.
anyway.
Bowser sucks, but they still give him a lot of work.
Yeah, someone figure out that road. All right, let's talk about Utah. 30-point favorites against Colorado, 52-point total. Clearly, all the points are coming from one side. That's the Utah side. Who's left for this team? Who's playing? And who's just going to destroy Colorado today?
Last ride for our good friend Cam Rising.
Been a run.
Good chance he doesn't play in the bowl. Man, I hope he does. Last year's bowl was electric. You can play him. It's kind of like Ohio State and Michigan, but a little different here. Actually, it's a little similar to Georgia, where you're trying to guess playing time. And we don't know how long he's going to be in the game, but he could just nuke Colorado on his way to even a half. And we saw that last week with Washington nuking Colorado. So Rising's in play. He runs a lot. He's excellent. You can stack him with Kincaid or Vele. Even Money Parks has been playing a little bit more as a cheapie. I think Kincaid's fine. 16 targets last week. More competitive game, so you wouldn't expect that, but definitely viable. Tavian Thomas entered the draft already, so he's out. Means Micah Bernard should likely lead this backfield. Don't feel super confident in it, but I don't even think it matters. You're just going to see raw efficiency from these guys just nuking Colorado. So love Bernard. He's a cash play.
Cash play. There you go. Anything else from Utah?
I don't think so.
We had one question on that, and I think you're going to say Glover or Bernard for Utah.
Bernard. I'm not sure Glover plays. He's missed the last couple games.
On the other side, our good friends at Colorado. It's been bad. It's been rough. They did win a game, which in some circles would be considered a success. That's about it. They're not going to be winning today. Is there anyone on this team that's worth playing?
No.
All right, then. Sorry, Colorado, I tried. Favorite 6,100 or below wide receiver. Let's see what we got going on here.
Stay with Davis.
That's correct. Yeah. Western Kentucky just throws the ball. And make sure, by the way, just a word of caution, if you're not paying attention, Dawood Davis, not Darius Davis. They're at the same price. And their names are both D Davis. So make sure you take the Western Kentucky guy, even though TCU is awesome. Deuce or Bryce Young on FanDuel?
Deuce.
Yeah. But can you both play? All right, let's keep it going. Oh, yeah, we got to talk about the game of, I know Eric Lindquist was in chat before doing some things. We wanted to talk about the Cyclones. I like Iowa State. Can they stop the team of destiny? We're going to find out. They're 9.5-point underdogs in Fort Worth to take on the undefeated TCU squad. Not the biggest total in the world. Let's start with Iowa State. I know you said that you think they can keep this game competitive. They've got an alpha in Hutchinson. Is Deckers in play? What are we doing with this team?
Deckers they throw a ton. He's just so inefficient, and their offense is so bad. Honestly, though, they've left a lot of points in the field, kicked a lot of field goals, turned the ball over. They had a 5-turnover game recently. That was atrocious. But TCU's defense is middling. It's definitely not one you're scared of. So Deckers, I think, is playable at this price. The only issue is they just have an 18-team total. So you're not going to get him in projections, just a GPP play. Rather play Hutchinson by himself. 14 targets per game for Hutchinson, 105.5 yards. He's just sick. You can play him regardless of matchup. He's a 36% target share. And TCU knows this. They're going to put Hodges Tomlinson on him, but I don't think it matters. Big height advantage. Then they run Noel and Stanley a lot. That's their 3-receiver set, and they rotate so little that these guys are just locked into their roles. You can play them each at their price. The only other guy to...
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say Brock is obviously gone. Anything else?
Yeah, Cartevious Norton will lead a committee, so GPP play there.
On the other side, TCU, they've made it this far. Just an awesome team. We know who they've got. They've got Johnston. They've got Kendre. Obviously, Dugan. Where do they fall? Is it stackable, or does Iowa State's kind of slow, methodical pace really hurt them here?
Yeah, I don't think I have a single TCU player, but
Oof.
it's just the total in the game is so bad. Iowa's defense is really good. They might have the best defense in the conference. And all these guys are hurt. Like Duggan's been playing hurt. Kendre Miller is hurt. He's going to play, but what is his effectiveness? Quentin Johnson is a game time decision. I think he plays, but he's hurt. Like everybody on this team is just banged up. So what are we actually getting from them is a big question for me. And that's part of the reason why I'm not playing them on top of just the game environment being bad. But if you want to rank them, Johnson's an alpha if he plays. From there would probably be Davis 2, Tay Barber 3, Savion Williams 4. And Kendre Miller will play more in games where the chips are down. But in games where they're not, they'll use Amari DeMarcado, and we don't know the health. So big questions across the board.
Yeah, I mean, Kendre Miller, for what it's worth, he did only have 10 carries against Baylor last week. Pair of receptions. But yeah, it is tough. This team is like most. I think they're kind of, dragging to the finish line, trying to, of course, remain unbeaten. You better watch out for Kansas State. That's another story for another time. But I do think they'll get through today. Not the best spot for DFS. Super chat from Sam. Malachi Corley or Charlie Jones?
Corley.
Yeah. Both of them, though.
Close, though.
Yeah, those are alphas. Reggie Brown, favorite JMU pass catcher?
No, Thornton.
Speaking of Thornton, Daywood Davis or Thornton?
Thornton.
You're like this Thornton character.
He's a wagon.
He is a wagon. Favorite $6,800 under flex option on DraftKings.
68.
68.
Thornton.
Yeah, this is an easy game. Just say Thornton for all the questions and it
It's
fits.
true.
I know.
Awesome.
It's not bad. Is Deuce Vaughn a good play on FanDuel? Yes. Deuce Vaughn's the man. Yeah, he's a player.
Saying
We're going to get to the last game, Penn State. I do want to ask you one thing about Notre Dame. With the split in carries, is there a viable path to one of those running backs? They're going to try to keep it on the ground with USC.
I think if you do that, you're probably going to go to either Estime or Diggs. I prefer Diggs slightly.
There you have it. Let's talk about Michigan State and Penn State. We'll get to Allen and Singleton and all these guys. We'll start with the Spartans, though. It's been rough. They're big-time underdog. What do they have? Is there anything that we can look to for this squad?
Jaden Reed or Kean Coleman, I think, is a GPP run back, but you're going into the teeth of Penn State's defense. It's still tough to really get behind, but that's what I would try to do if I was doing it.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So with that said, you're ruling out, you're not getting the Thorn, you're not getting to like Berger or any of these guys in the backfield.
No.
On the other side, we've got, a Penn State team that I'm not gonna say they can name their score, but they should be in pretty good shape here. How do they attack it? Backfield, quarterback, everything in between.
So the running backs are in a committee, but I like that. I think you can kind of play roulette with them almost in a game where they should be able to run the ball pretty easily. So I like using, especially Singleton, just as the dynamic younger player. I think he's a pretty good option, but it's GPP or bust.
You have no interest in playing the running backs together, like Allen and Singleton. You're basically paying 11.6. Right.
No interest.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that. Anything else for Penn State in terms of the pass catchers? Tinsley, I don't know. Whoever else they got.
Keandre Lambert-Smith is really cheap, so I think he's fine if you want to roll the dice on a guy.
A lot of games in a smaller slate, I think maybe, but yeah, definitely tournament centric at best. All right, we got a couple minutes. We got a couple questions. We're going to push up these likes to over 100. Last regular season show of the season. Hutchinson or Ibrahim in GPPs?
Ibrahim.
Yeah, it's just always him. We talked about him a little, but from South Carolina, Bell, like, is he a guy, they've been using him in different ways. How do you think he fits in today?
I think he's going to be overowned. He's in a lot of optimals across the industry, and they're getting back two players that are going to siphon off his carries.
Norton or Downing, Purdue running back.
Give me the dice roll on Downing.
Yeah, if he gets the work at that price, I get it. Best 5,000 or below flex on DraftKings. Where are we going?
That's a bad price range, I can tell you that.
Uh,
Probably Bell, honestly. And I just broke it down a negative to his game.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Or
it's
Michael
pretty dire.
Matheson, maybe.
Yeah, this is tough. This is where, I mean, again, shout out to our tools. Like, go to our projections, sign up for the week, use the promo code thanks, and that's how I do it. Because there's just not that much down there. Is Ches viable if Allen is out? Oh man.
Oh yeah, he's gonna carry 30 times.
so bad. Malachi Corley or Marvin Harrison Jr. Interesting.
Corley.
Richardson or Obese? I don't know what
Obese's
Richardson.
the back. Oh wait, Daniel, I wouldn't play Richardson. I don't know if he's gonna play.
Yeah, that was my thought. No, I'm with you. It says Oklahoma State running back Richardson is warming up and apparently playing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be confident in that, and I also wouldn't be confident he sees the work.
Yeah, it's tricky with some of these dudes. All right. Pick one. Thornton on Oregon or Braden Johnson?
Braden Johnson.
Yeah.
It's close. I think
It is
Thornton's
close.
solid.
Yeah, a lot of these are really tough 1v1s. Again, you're kind of coin flipping with a lot of them. A lot of questions about cheapy. Like how low, you mentioned Downing a little bit. How low are you looking to go? Like, these flex guys at like 4.5 and less, there's just not that many names down there.
Right. I'm playing some receivers, but it's not a lot for me personally.
We'll take a couple more. Marquise Step viable at the Stone Min?
Probably it's going to be like a 4-way committee there. I wouldn't feel confident in it.
Maybe as an attachment to Reed, but yeah, I mean, you know what you're getting into there. Spencer Rattler, a lot of money last week. Yes, the time to play him was last week, but I think we did a pretty good job, if I don't say so myself. Of course, there's going to be news that breaks throughout the day. Of course, you're going to have questions. It's why you want to hop in our premium Discord, free for a week. Find that link on our site. It's why you want to follow the man himself, Matt_Gajewski. You can follow me as well. It's been an awesome year. Again, don't think we're going anywhere. When there's college football, we're going to be here breaking down the slates. You guys have been awesome. Obviously, I'm super lucky to do this show with you, Matt. I have a blast every week. It's just so much fun. So many games, so many teams, so many players. It's amazing how you do it, but it's just a cool time. So I just want to say thanks to everyone. Any final thoughts for the people before we bounce on out of here?
Yeah, thank you guys for all being here. Absolute blast to be able to do it. And thank you, Ben, for hosting the show, doing this with me, doing betting you and all the college content.
Yeah,
really thankful to be able to do this. So thank you to you and everybody else. It's great to be able to do this.
Yeah, and don't worry, after college football, March Madness, baby. It's going to get even more dangerous. 360 teams, no problem. We got it under control here at Stokastic. But for me, for Matt, for Mike behind the glass, good luck, friends. Enjoy the final regular season. And, of course, stay tuned each and every day for more content. We'll talk to you guys soon. More college football on deck. Championship week will be upon us. Good luck, and we'll see you then.